So this is the second video about the problems I've faced during the FMP. The last one we went over hissing sounds, other little bits and bobs, as well as like issues with contacting people, having stuff arranged, and the different contingency plans I had. So if you haven't seen that, that's in the vlogs playlist on my YouTube channel, and it should be also on this website page if you're accessing my videos through my website. So, other problems I faced. Some of them were outside of college and outside of my control. Things like being made redundant, things I didn't expect, things I didn't plan for, things I didn't have a contingency for. So, in the latter part of the year, we were told on and off we were being made redundant from the job that I was working at. I'm not telling you where I worked, that's a bit creepy. But I was made redundant. All good fun. And that meant, as soon as we found out, and a little bit before as well, because we knew something was going on, I think things were happening in the place I was working in. So my hours went up dramatically. I was working a lot more at where I worked, which meant I had less time to spend on the project. And when I wasn't working, I had family events, things like that, stuff I couldn't avoid. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was working for college work. I was left very drained, and all motivation went out of my head. It was like someone had flipped a switch, and I don't know, I lost a lot of drive, and that was a major problem, and one that it took a while to get over, but I got around it through support from friends, family, my wonderful girlfriend, and I like to think I got a fair chunk done despite the problems I faced. I faced other problems, ones that might not be that major to someone else, but to me it was. So if I just pop this down here and get my notes out. I faced a lot of different issues, and a lot of them were in Epsom when I was doing my interviewing. I've got a little post-it note here. So, challenges I faced. Managing sound. Went over that a little bit, but there was a few other sound issues. Frames per second, stuff like that, and familiarity. So, for the sound, a lot of the rooms, including the room that I was filming in for Millie's video, were very echoey. So, we got around that through different methods. Stuff like putting her duvet quilt over different walls, or hanging it on her mirror, putting cushions around the room, getting the mannequins and stuff from her mum's room where her dresses are held, and putting them around the room so that we could nullify as much of the bouncing around the room with the sound. We also filmed against the window, so it wasn't a flat angle facing back at the camera or towards the microphone. Frames per second. Now that was a fun one. I didn't realise what was happening until I looked back at the recording and saw these funny little bars moving up the screen just constantly. And it wasn't like a physical thing, it was like the grain of the camera was moving up. And I realised when I looked at my camera settings that I'd set the frames low enough that the light in Millie's room was showing across on the camera. So you could see the flickering and it was going up. So the way I rectified that was giving myself a little bit of a shake and fixing the camera settings and getting it right, and eventually it came out all right. It's taught me to always check my settings and check afterwards as well. It doesn't hurt if you've got a spare second just to check after, make sure everything's hunky-dory. You're all good. Managing sound again, I carried a lot of equipment with me to Epsom. A lot of equipment. In a suitcase, no less. And the one thing I forgot was headphones. And all the headphones I do have are Bluetooth, so not compatible with the portable recorder I was using. And Millie, nor the teachers, nor Kiana, or her family had wired headphones. So a lot of what I was recording, I didn't know whether it was coming out right until I played it back through the actual microphone. There were some issues, let's be honest, and I was connecting that to the wireless ones. So when I wasn't using the wireless ones, I was using just the recorder. I didn't really know what was happening. But that led to me creating contingencies on the spot. So stuff like recording with my phone just underneath where my interview sat, so that I had another fallback to use, using the base microphone in my camera, which I did have to use for the individual interviews for the edits with Millie, because unfortunately there was a sound corruption, stuff that I couldn't easily edit out. And then, as I said, familiarity. So me and Millie have been friends for, I want to say, over 16 years. We know each other very well. We're very silly together, very much like brother and sister, but closer like that than that. So keeping a straight face on camera was difficult for both of us, and it was weird bossing her about like a producer, and she couldn't necessarily take me seriously. So in the end, we sort of just had to take a breather, have a bit of a chill out, and then go, right, in this instance, I'm not Ben and you're not Millie. You're just saying your bit, I'm saying mine, and then we're getting it done. And it took a couple takes for certain things, because we did have a laugh and certain things were edited around, but it led to some quite quick cuts in the individual interviews, which was a bit of a pain in the backside, but I think it came out well. I think my contingencies worked, and I think my creative practice was quite well done in that regard. Things that went well. I used good light contrast, especially for Millie's video. I set the camera so that the lighting on Millie that I was using, her lamp in her bedroom pointed at her, and the light coming from the outside behind her to backlight her worked really well. And so that I sort of blew out the background. It was very over contrasted, but Millie was perfectly lit, perfectly coloured, so that there wasn't that issue, and it worked really well with the sort of feel of the shot. The questions were prepared. I did think about this. I didn't want to hit the same issues I did last year with unprepared interviews, and it led to a really free-flowing sort of interview, something that felt natural and healthy, and it just sort of allowed this sort of flowing motion between the interviews. I think I got the best out of my speakers. I went in with a relaxed and nurturing approach, because the topics I'm talking about, let's be honest, they're not the easiest ones to talk about. Mental health and learning difficulties have always been a bit of a taboo, and if they're not taboo to the person, they are still uncomfortable because it's personal experience and things you don't always have to deal with, and stuff I don't really want my interviewees reliving if it's uncomfortable. So I went in calmly, asked them calmly, and asked them to sort of stop when they wanted to stop when it wasn't comfortable for them to go on. And that's how I got the best out of my interviews. So yeah, I hope that answers a lot of the questions. Hope it fills you in a little bit more. And yeah, I think that's it for this one. Thank you. Bye bye.